Fake HOA police came to arrest Black Man, but he's the most feared FBI agent on a quiet afternoon in a wealthy suburban neighborhood. A group of self-appointed HOA police marched toward the driveway of a black homeowner. Their intent was clear. They wanted him gone. Clipboard in hand, fake badges pinned to their shirts. They believed they had the power to intimidate, to humiliate, to remove. What they didn't know was that the man they targeted wasn't just another homeowner. He carried a secret that made him far more dangerous than any of them could imagine. The HOA's little stunt was about to collide with the full weight of the FBI. The neighborhood had always prided itself on being exclusive, with manicured lawns, painted fences, and rules that dictated everything from mailbox colors to the size of garden gnomes. But beneath its polished image was a darker reality, an unspoken code about who truly belonged and who didn't. When James Carter moved into one of the largest homes on the block, whispers started immediately. He was a 42-year-old man, tall and reserved, with skin the color the HOA didn't like to see in its so-called model community. To them, his presence was an invasion. To James, it was simply a dream fulfilled. A safe place for his wife and daughter, away from the chaos of the city. But no matter how perfect his lawn was, or how quiet his family lived, the complaints kept coming. His car doesn't fit the image. His guests are suspicious. He doesn't wave enough. Every detail of his life became ammunition for the board members, who hid their prejudice behind rule books and meeting minutes. Then came the HOA police, a group of neighbors who took it upon themselves to enforce community standards. They wore fake uniforms, carried walkie-talkies, and even crafted plastic badges to make themselves look official. On this particular day, they decided James had violated one rule too many. They weren't coming with a warning. They were coming to remove him. What they didn't realize was that James wasn't just a homeowner. He was one of the FBI's most respected and feared counterintelligence agents, a man who had dismantled international spy rings and infiltrated organized crime networks. And now, his most dangerous assignment might be happening in his own front yard. James was inside, sipping coffee at his kitchen table, when he saw them through the blinds. 4 men, 2 women, all marching in formation toward his front door. They carried clipboards like weapons, their plastic badges flashing in the sunlight as if they were actual officers. His daughter, only 10, peeked out from behind him, confused. "Dad? Why are they all coming here?" James didn't answer right away. He'd seen this before. Not here. Not in this way. But in war zones and sting operations. Ordinary people who convinced themselves they had power, using uniforms, symbols, and numbers to intimidate others. He felt that familiar heat in his chest. The calm before action. The group didn't knock. They shouted, "By order of the Homeowners Association, you are in violation of community regulations. You must leave the premises immediately." Neighbors stepped onto their porches, watching. Phones came out, recording. This was what the HOA police wanted. An audience, a spectacle. James opened the door slowly. He didn't flinch at their raised voices or their attempts to block his driveway with their cars. Instead, he let silence hang in the air. His stillness unnerved them more than anger ever could. One man stepped forward, puffing out his chest. "We're authorized to detain you for repeated violations. Non-compliance will be reported. Detain." The word struck James like a bell. He had heard it in interrogation rooms, from foreign agents who tried to justify their kidnappings with fake authority. And here it was, in his own neighborhood, from people who thought they were untouchable. Inside his house, on the mantel above the fireplace, lay his FBI credentials. His badge was real, his authority unquestionable, but James didn't reach for it yet. Instead, he observed the nervous twitch of one man's hand, the rehearsed language they were using, the eagerness of their audience. The HOA police thought this was a game, but James knew better. He saw escalation. He saw danger. He saw the same arrogance in them that he'd seen in criminals across the world, the belief that fear could bend truth. Then, one of them made a mistake. They pushed forward, stepping onto his porch, crossing the invisible boundary of private property. His daughter gasped, clutching her father's hand, and that was when James decided enough was enough. James stepped outside fully, his towering frame now casting a shadow over the group. His calm voice cut through their shouting like a knife. "You've trespassed," the leader scoffed. "We're enforcing the law of the HOA. You don't belong here." At that moment, James pulled something from his jacket pocket. It wasn't a weapon, but it was far more devastating. His real badge. The gold and blue seal gleamed under the afternoon sun. The crowd fell into silence. "I'm a federal agent," he said evenly, "and you've just committed multiple crimes. Impersonation of law enforcement, harassment, and trespassing. Every word you've spoken is being recorded. The fake officers froze. Their plastic badges suddenly felt like anchors dragging them into the deep. One man tried to laugh it off, but his voice cracked. Another backed away, shaking his head as if waking from a nightmare. James took a step closer, his eyes unblinking. I've arrested terrorists with less arrogance than what I see here today. Do you understand the gravity of what you've done? Neighbors who had once cheered the HOA police now muttered nervously. Phones that had been raised to capture his humiliation were now capturing the opposite. The unmasking of a cruel performance. For the first time, the so-called enforcers looked powerless. Their fake authority had shattered in the face of the real thing. And then James did something unexpected. He didn't arrest them. Not yet. He simply held their gaze and said, "Leave, before you find out what justice actually feels like." They stumbled back, retreating to their cars under the weight of a silence more suffocating than any siren. The neighborhood never forgot that day. The footage spread online within hours, turning the HOA police into a laughingstock and exposing the racial prejudice that fueled their charade. Comment sections filled with outrage. How could people sink so low as to impersonate officers just to target a black man in his own home? James, however, remained composed. He didn't seek revenge, nor did he boast about who he was. His concern was his daughter, who had witnessed hate dressed up as authority. He wanted her to understand something critical. That power is not about loud voices or fake badges. True power lies in restraint, integrity, and justice. Weeks later, the HOA board quietly disbanded their so-called enforcement committee. Some members resigned. Others faced legal consequences. But the stain of their actions remained. A reminder that racism often hides behind rules, policies, and false authority until someone strong enough exposes it. For James, the experience wasn't just another chapter in his career. It was personal. He had faced foreign enemies. But here, in the heart of suburbia, he had confronted one of the oldest enemies of all, racism disguised as order. And so, the question lingers. How many more communities hide this same darkness behind manicured lawns and rulebooks? And when will more people, like James, stand up and tear the mask off hypocrisy? Because at the end of the day, justice doesn't wear a plastic badge.